You guys offer her a bag to come join you guys?
Yeah, well, I feel like it's just so crazy because the growth that Caitlin has brought to the game, the sheer amount of money that she's making these teams, people are having to move their venues for when she comes to play, and she's getting paid like $75,000 a year. So definitely we want to be a part of that change, and that's what we're doing. We're obviously, I think she deserves that. I think she should be one of the top players in the world just for the sheer numbers that she's bringing. So I think that's something that needs to change, and that's what we're trying to do.
Right now, it's hard to watch how desperate things have become for Unrivaled. They are barely staying afloat, struggling to survive. Instead of addressing the real issues, though, they are back to the same approach they've been using for months, pleading with Caitlin Clark to come to their rescue. It's like watching someone drowning, refusing to grab the life raft and just hoping, against all odds, that Clark will somehow swoop in and save them. Leading the charge once again is Napheesa Collier, who's making it clear that there's always room for Clark on the team, suggesting she could still join in the future. All they can do now is show her what they've got and hope she decides to hop on board. What is she really hoping for? Does she think Caitlin Clark is sitting at home, scrolling through Unrivaled's social media, watching empty bleachers and injured players limping off the court, and thinking, yeah, this looks like a great opportunity for my career? Because that's just not going to happen.
Paige, we mentioned Juju. Caitlin Clark, she isn't playing in this first season of the league, but she has said she's open to playing. What is it going to take to get a Caitlin Clark to play next season?
I think everything we're doing, for Caitlin, I feel like it's just been such a whirlwind, coming from college and all that came with that to, being in her first WNBA rookie season. It's just a lot to handle, and there's no break, especially for the rookies. They play for 18 months straight or something crazy like that, just because going from both seasons. And so I know she really needed that little mental break from basketball for a little bit, but all we can do is show her what we have, and I think
Caitlin Clark is in a league of her own right now. She's arguably the biggest name in women's basketball, if not in all of sports. She doesn't need some struggling league built on desperation to make her career shine. Clark is already doing everything Unrivaled wishes it could, but in the WNBA, where the competition is fierce. Meanwhile, Unrivaled is barely staying afloat. Their ratings are dismal, their attendance is embarrassing, and their games rarely crack 100,000 viewers, even on a good day. But this isn't a sign that people don't care about women's basketball. Clark's jersey retirement alone brought in 1.1 million viewers, not even a game, just to being honored, and she outdrew the entire Unrivaled season combined. So what does Unrivaled do? They double down on their obsession with Caitlin Clark, thinking that if they talk about her enough, she'll feel sorry for them and lend a hand. It's the same move they've been making for months. When Unrivaled first launched, they acted like they didn't need Clark, saying they wanted to build something that didn't rely on superstars. But fast forward, and now they can't go 5 minutes without mentioning her name. Napheesa Collier, one of the league's co-founders, is out there saying there's always room for Clark, hoping she'll come on board. But if you're at the top of your game, you don't beg someone to join. You don't need to hope a superstar will notice you. Unrivaled's business model is crumbling. They tried to position themselves as an alternative to the WNBA, but the problem is most people don't want an alternative. The WNBA is growing, Caitlin Clark is pulling in millions of viewers, and she's selling out arenas. Meanwhile, Unrivaled is canceling games because too many players are injured. Yes, you heard that right, they didn't even have enough healthy players to play a game. This isn't high school basketball. This is supposed to be professional, but Unrivaled can't even keep it together. Clark doesn't need them, she's already set for life. With deals from Nike, Gatorade, and other endorsements, she's making more in one season than most WNBA players make in years. Unrivaled, on the other hand, needs her. They need her more than she'll ever need them. Without her, they have no mainstream attention, no real TV ratings, and no reason for fans to care. That's why Collier keeps talking about Clark like she's one step away from joining, planting the seed that maybe, just maybe, she'll feel some kind of obligation to throw them a lifeline. But let's face it, Clark isn't falling for it. She sees Unrivaled struggles, the injuries piling up, and the lack of competition. Why would she risk her career in a league that can't even keep its players healthy? She's not in it for clout, she's in it for the real competition, which Unrivaled just doesn't have. Unrivaled's desperation is painfully obvious. They keep trying stunts like one-on-one tournaments and odd scheduling, hoping something will stick. Meanwhile, Clark just has to show up to a game, and the entire sports world explodes. Unrivaled lives in a fantasy where they think Clark is waiting for the right moment to join them, but in reality, she's thriving without them. She's elevating the WNBA, breaking records, and selling out every arena she steps into. She doesn't need Unrivaled to be a superstar. She already is one. Meanwhile, Unrivaled is just trying to stay relevant. Collier and the Unrivaled executives can keep hoping and talking about how there's always a spot for Clark, but her silence speaks volumes. The truth is, she's moved on. And Unrivaled is still chasing a dream that will never come true. Let's take a closer look at the bigger issues Unrivaled is facing. Their obsession with Caitlin Clark is distracting them from the real problems. While Clark is an incredible talent, no league can survive off one player. Even Michael Jordan couldn't carry the NBA on his own. But Unrivaled has put all their chips on Clark, and it's starting to look pathetic. Their constant recruitment attempts are getting harder to ignore. Napheesa Collier's repeated statements about Clark always having a spot in the league just show how out of touch they are. A professional sports league shouldn't revolve around one player, yet that's exactly what's happening here. Then, there are the injuries. Injuries are part of any sport, but when an entire league cancels games because it doesn't have enough healthy players, something is seriously wrong. This isn't just about bad luck. It points to deeper issues with player development and the league's sustainability. The lack of a stable, healthy roster highlights systemic problems within Unrivaled, from training programs to game preparation. Even if Caitlin Clark wanted to join, would she really want to play in a league that can't keep its players healthy? Unrivaled's other big problem is their reliance on star power. While they have players like Napheesa Collier, the issue is their stars aren't enough to create real competition. Without a strong foundation of talent development and competitive balance, even their best players can only do so much. They think if they can lure Caitlin Clark in, her star power will elevate the league. But the truth is, if the league is falling apart at its core, no amount of star power can save it. Clark knows this. She's about real competition, not a league that's still figuring out how to schedule games or keep players healthy. Unrivaled isn't an alternative to the WNBA. It's a watered-down version of women's basketball, trying to appeal to a niche audience with flashy, uncompetitive games. Caitlin Clark doesn't need that. She's already in the most competitive league for women's basketball, the WNBA, where she's one of the top players. Why would she leave that for a league that's struggling to stay afloat? The marketing disaster makes it worse. Instead of focusing on building a strong foundation with quality basketball, Unrivaled is chasing clout, trying to sell a product based on name recognition instead of the sport itself. Caitlin Clark doesn't need flashy marketing. She lets her game do the talking, and her fans respect that. Unrivaled, meanwhile, keeps throwing everything at the wall, hoping Clark will save them. But that's not how it works. At the end of the day, Caitlin Clark isn't going to join Unrivaled. She's already the face of women's basketball, with endorsements and fans worldwide. She's breaking records and building her legacy without them. Unrivaled, on the other hand, will keep chasing her, and they'll only continue to fall further behind. They're out of touch with reality, and no amount of gimmicks or empty promises will change that. Unrivaled is stuck in the past. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is moving forward, and the league will never catch up.